Okay, hi Jana. It's Ken. I'm gonna go over the resting technique with you, and I'm gonna try and do this all in one shot so that I don't have to go into my video editing software and put a whole bunch together. That takes forever. So, I'll be adjusting the camera a little bit as I go along, so just bear with me. Alright, so this is the shellac, the main thing that I use. It's by Zinsser, and it's amber colored. It's important that you get amber, or else it's just going to be clear. I'm also going to use, this is Provincial by Minwax. It's a light colored stain. And I'm going to use Dark Walnut. It's also by Minwax. You can get both of these colors in a small container like this. And I'm going to be using water, a spray bottle, and my blowtorch. Alright, I'll show you. I like to torch the pipe first. This is just regular PVC. This makes a lot of noxious smoke, so do it outside. The longer you burn it, the more texture you're going to get. I'll hold this here for a second so you can see the cracks form, hopefully. You can start to see some of those cracks. Like I said, the longer you hold it, the deeper the texture is going to be. So, that's good for that. And what I usually will do next is wash the pipe off a little bit, because it has all of this soot. So you can just spray it with some water. And I just use a little towel to wipe off, clean it up a little bit. If you don't do this, then if you are going to paint the pipe, essentially what you'll be painting is the soot. You're not actually going to be painting the pipe. So if you plan on painting this after this step, you want to wash off that soot. But for this little demonstration, I'm actually not going to paint the pipe. I'm out of all of my paint that I would use for a pipe like this. But it's going to work just as well on a white pipe, so you can either paint it or not. It's really up to you. The next thing is to do your first layer of shellac, which is what is on this pipe here. I did this about 20 minutes ago. This was just I just painted on a layer of shellac and then sprayed it with water. The more water you spray, the more white and chalky it's going to be as it dries. I'll show you. So you can see this has a lot of texture from burning. And my shellac. And I'm just painting it straight up, painting on like you would paint anything. Nothing, no special technique here. Paint, 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 paint. That's it. And then I'm going to spray it. And you can see, I'll get closer to the camera. You can see almost immediately that you get texture. That water hits the shellac and kind of coagulates it and freezes it in place. So that's all that is. So that's fresh. I just did that, and this has been done for about 20 minutes. As it dries, it'll get lighter and lighter and more chalkier in color, which is normal. The more water you spray on, the more it's gonna be that kind of chalky texture. Alright, I'm gonna move the camera over so you can see what it looks like when it gets to that chalky point. So give me a minute. This. And you could see that section right there, that I actually did in the class. And that's just shellac sprayed with water. And like I said, as it dries, it gets that white, chalky kind of look. But we can remedy that. We can take that away. And the way to do that is, so let's say that this was that pipe that I just painted and sprayed. What I would do next is take my blowtorch, and you can blowtorch this, and it's going to bring back some of that original shellac color. It's unfortunate here because it's on a black background, so as this starts to heat up, you're not going to see it as well, but you can see that the blowtorch makes that white chalkiness go away. Like that. And like all of this overspray, if I was doing like pipes on a wall that were supposed to be in a sewer or a boiler room or something, and I had a lot of this overspray on my wall, I would get rid of that with the blowtorch too. Just a quick pass makes all of that go away. Like that. Alright. I'm gonna move the camera again back to where we were. So give me a minute, 40 seconds. It's very cold out tonight. Okay, we're back to this. So this is the one that we just sprayed a few minutes ago. This is that other side. You can see better on here what the blowtorch does to the dried shellac. So if I'm blowtorching, and I kind of like to hit the areas where I blowtorched before, where there's a lot of texture. It's going to highlight that texture and make it come through a lot more. Just a little bit. I don't like to do a lot. Too much, and it makes it just look like burned. Alright. So I would do a little bit of that, and I would do the blowtorch kind of around, if you had bolts in here, I would do the blowtorch around the bolts, and if you had some like 90-degree elbows on here, I would do them around the seams where the elbow meets the pipe. So we've put on our first layer of shellac, sprayed it with water. In theory, we've let it dry for an hour or 45 minutes, as long as you can give it. And then we've blowtorched it to get rid of some of that chalky look, which you saw on the wall. And then the next step would be to start applying different layers of shellac. I'm going to do it standing up because hopefully you can see better. Now this is random. This is where you start putting in that detail that makes it look realistic. So I'm not going to do shellac everywhere. But I am going to apply shellac in certain areas, and I'm going to let it kind of drip and let it do its own thing, because rust comes from water, and water will drip. So I have that on now, and I'll spray that again with water. Now this time, I'm going to use less water. I'm only going to spray this maybe just very lightly. 1 or 2 quick sprays. And what this is going to do is start adding more layers of different textures and different colors. So again, as this dries, it's going to change colors even more. So that was my second drippy layer of shellac. And then I would let this dry for 20 minutes or so, and then I would go back and I would do more layers. And I would just keep going, probably 2 or 3 layers. And some layers I would leave straight shellac, some layers I would spray with water. You just want a variety. You don't want uniformity, because it's supposed to look natural. And something like this, wouldn't be very uniform in regards to how it has aged or has been distressed. So that's the shellac step. It's really easy. It's super easy. As far as the stains, I like to use the stains to do a little bit of detail distressing. So think of it as the shellac and water stage is kind of the rusting and age, and what the stain is going to be is more of the funk and grossness that we're adding. So I like to start with my lighter color, which is the Provincial. It's the Provincial one. And again, this I would use around bolts, around seams and edges where things meet, and areas of like that. So since I don't have a lot of that going on, I'm just going to do the edges here. This is coming out a little heavy. This is a very, very light coat that you should be doing here with the stain. It should be a very, very minimal thing. Since I don't have a lot of bolts and things going on, I'm just going to tap this on in a way that I would if it did have the bolts and things. There's a bit of a glare from the light, but... So we have that, which is lovely. Can you see kind of what that's doing? It's just giving me another layer, another dimension of color and texture. That's the Provincial. And I use a tapping method. I tap it on. I don't typically brush it on because I don't think it looks natural. I like to tap. And stain is really cool because it's going to kind of level itself out on the surface. What you're going to see is a lot of like texture from the tapping, but that's all going to level itself out over time as it dries. So that would be the lighter color that I start with, and then I'll go back and do an even more minimal application of the dark color, which is the dark walnut that I showed you. Dark walnut. So I'm going to use even less of this. Just dipping the very edge of my brush in my little pot here, because this is really dark. It's not as dark as like the ebony color, but it's pretty dark. So I would then use that to add another layer and dimension to my stain coat. Just a very little bit. Just a little bit. Like that. And it looks kind of dark right now because it's so fresh. It's going to lighten up as it dries, but that is basically it. That's all I do. It's probably going to take you a little bit longer because you're going to be waiting for things to dry, but it's a relatively fast process. And as you can see, this area was done on a pipe that wasn't painted. And once this is all done, you can't even tell. So technically, you could do this whole process on a white pipe and not even bother with giving it a base coat of any kind of paint color. And then that's it. I'm going to turn the camera and see if I can get you a picture of this without the glare. Nope, I can't. No, it's just dark. Okay, well, I'll try to attach some pictures along with the video so you can see what it looks like when it's totally finished. So, again, I used the shellac, amber color, Minwax brand Provincial color, it's a lighter color, dark walnut, it's a darker color that I use, and water, spray bottle, and blowtorch. That's it. Very few things. Pretty inexpensive. I think the most expensive thing is going to be the shellac. This size runs about $13 to $15 depending on where you get it. And then you can get a blowtorch like this for about, $12. And this will last you forever. These little things of stain, I think, cost $4 or $5. And these larger ones cost somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12. And the stains, depending on what you're doing, can last you a very long time. I've had this one for many months, and I use it just on projects that I do at home. And that's it. If you have any questions, email me. You have my info. And that's it. Okay. Bye.